Okay, good morning, people. So we've made it to spring. Yay! I hope you're all travelling well. This is our last chapter, chapter 13, until we get to part 3. So that's exciting. Hope you've got yourself a nice cup of hot tea or Milo. If not, hit that space bar and go and get yourself one, and then we'll get started. So might make yourself comfortable. I've got a little bit of a different setup today. We are on the Stevenson's book of quotations, and I think it'll make it easier for you to read. So let me know in the comments below if you think this is much better. I think it's much clearer. I just have to move it around a bit more. Alright, let's get to it. Rufus, 10:39 a.m. I gotta take a photo of Mateo sleeping. That sounds creepy, no shit, but I gotta immortalise this dreamy look on his face. That doesn't sound any less creepy. Shit. It's the moment too I want. How often do you find yourself on a train that's having a blackout with an 18-year-old kid and his Lego house as he's on his way to the cemetery to visit his mother's headstone? Exactly. That's Instagram worthy. I stand to get a wider shot. I aim in the darkness and take his picture, the flash blinding me. A moment later, no joke, the train's lights and fans come back and we continue moving. I'm a wizard, I mutter. No shit. I discover I have superpowers on my end day. I wish someone got that on camera. I could have gone viral. The picture is dope. I upload it when I have service. It's good I got the photo of Mateo sleeping when I did. Yeah, creepy, we established that, because his face is shifting, his left eye twitching, he looks uneasy and he's breathing harder, shaking. Holy shit, maybe he's epileptic. I don't know. He never told me anything like that. I should have asked. I'm about to call out for someone on the train who might know what to do if he's having a seizure when Mateo mutters, "No," and repeats it over and over. Mateo is having a nightmare. I sit beside him and grab his arm to save him. Mateo, 10:42 a.m. Rufus shakes me awake. I'm no longer on the mountain. I'm back on the train and the lights are on and we're moving. I take a deep breath and I turn to the window as if I'm actually expected to find boulders and a headless birds flying my way. Bad dream, dude. I dreamt I was skiing. That's my bad. What happened in the dream? It started with me going down one of those kiddie slopes, the bunny slope. I nod. Then it got really steep and the hills got icier and I dropped my ski poles and I turned around to look for them and I saw a boulder coming for me. All of a sudden it got louder and louder and I wanted to throw myself off the side into this mound of snow. But I panicked. I was supposed to turn down another hill where I saw my Lego sanctuary, except it was as big as a cabin but my skis disappeared and I flew straight off the mountain while headless birds circled overhead and I kept falling and falling. Rufus grins. It's not funny, I say. He shifts closer to me, his knee knocking into mine. You're okay. I promise you don't have to worry about boulders chasing you or flying off a snowy mountain today and everything else. Rufus shrugs. You're probably good on the headless birds too. It sucks that this was the last time I'll ever dream. It wasn't even a good one. Delilah Grey, 11:08 a.m. Infinite Weekly has secured Howie Maldonado's final interview. Delilah herself hasn't. I know everything about Howie Maldonado, Delilah says, but her boss, senior editor Sandy Guerrero, isn't having it. You're too new for a profile this important, Sandy says, walking towards a black car sent over by Howie's people. I know I work on the absolute worst cubicle with the most ancient computer, but that doesn't mean I'm not qualified to do at least assist you in this interview, Delilah says. She comes off as ungrateful and arrogant, but she won't take it back. She'll move far in this industry by knowing her worth, and by landing a byline in this piece. It may have been Sandy's industry status that persuaded the publicist to choose Infinite Weekly over People magazine, but Delilah grew up with not only the Scorpius Hawthorne books, but also the films, all 8 of them, which nurtured her love for this medium. From fangirl to paid fangirl, Howie Maldonado won't be the last person to die, I'm pleased to report, Sandy says, opening the car door and removing her sunglasses. You have your whole life ahead of you to eulogise celebrities. Delilah still can't believe how low Victor sank last night with that prank deathcast alert. Sandy gives Delilah's colourful hair a once-over, and Delilah wishes she'd respected her editor's hint to dye her hair brown again, if only to gain her favour right now. Do you know how many MTV Movie Awards Howie has won? Delilah asks, or which sport he played competitively as a child, how many siblings he has, how many languages he speaks. Sandy doesn't answer a single question. Delilah answers them all. 2 awards for the best villain, competitive fencing, only child, he speaks English and French. Sandy, please, I promise I won't let my passion get in your way. I will never have another chance to meet Howie. His death cast can be life-changing for her career. His death can be life-changing for her career. Sandy shakes her head and releases a deep breath. Fine. He's agreed to the interview, but there are no guarantees. Obviously, we've reserved a private dining area in Midtown, and we're still awaiting confirmation from his publicist that Howie has agreed to this setup. The earliest Howie may see us is at 2. Delilah is ready to sit in the car with her when Sandy shakes her finger. There's still time before we meet, Sandy says. Please find me a copy of Howie's book, the one he wrote. The sarcasm in Sandy's voice is so sharp she doesn't need air quotes. I'll be a hero if I get a copy signed for my son. Sandy closes the door and lowers her window. I'd stop wasting time if I were you. The car takes off and Delilah pulls out her phone and walking towards the street corner while looking up at the phone numbers for nearby bookstores. She trips off the curb and lands flat in the street, a car honking as it approaches her. The car brakes a couple of feet away from her face. Her heart runs wild and her eyes tear up. But she lived because Delilah isn't dying today. People fall all the time. Delilah is no exception. She reminds herself even if she's not a Decker. Mateo, 11:32 a.m. The clouds are gathered as we walk into Evergreen Cemetery. I haven't been here since I was 12, the weekend of Mother's Day, and I cannot for the life of me tell which of the entrances will help us reach her headstone fastest. So we're sure to be wandering for a bit. Breeze carries a smell of trimmed grass. Weird question. Do you believe in the afterlife? I ask. That's not weird. We're dying, Rufus says. Right. Weird answer. I believe in 2 afterlives. 2? 2. What are they? I ask. As we walk around the tombstones, many so deeply worn that the names are no longer visible. Others with crosses planted in them so high they look like swords in rocks. And under large pin oak trees, Rufus tells me his theory on the afterlives. I think we're already dead, dude. Not everybody, just Deckers. The whole death cast thing seems too fantasy to be true. Knowing when our last day is going to down so we can live it right. Straight up fantasy. The first afterlife kicks off when Deathcast tells us to live out our day knowing it's our last. That way we take full advantage of it, thinking we're still alive. Then we enter the next and final afterlife without any regrets. You get me? I nod. That's interesting. His afterlife is definitely more impressive and thoughtful than Dad's. Dad believes in the usual gold-gated island in the sky. Still, the popular afterlife is better than no afterlife, like Lydia believes. But wouldn't it be better if we already knew we were dead so we're not living it in fear of how it happens? Nope. Rufus wheels his bike around a stoic cherub. That defeats the purpose. It's supposed to feel real, and the risk should scare you, and the goodbye should suck. Otherwise, it feels cheap, like a make a moment. If you leave it right, one day should be good. If we stay longer than that, we turn into ghosts who haunt and kill, and no one wants that. We laugh on strangers' graves, and even though we're talking about our afterlives, I forgot for a second that this is where we'll end up. That's the next level. Do you get on an elevator and rise up? Nah, your time expires. I don't know you fade or something and reappear in what people call heaven. I'm not religious. I believe there's some alien creator and somewhere for dead people to hang out, but I don't credit all that as good as heaven. Me too. Ditto on the God thing, and maybe the rest of Rufus's theory is right too. Maybe I'm already dead and I have been paired with a life changer to spend my last day with, as a reward for daring to do something new, like trying a last friend app maybe. What does your afterlife look like? It's whatever you want, no limitations. If you're into angels and halos and ghost dogs, then cool. If you want to fly, you do. You do you. If you want to go back in time, knock yourself out. You've thought about this a lot, I say. Late night chats with the Plutos, Rufus says. I hope reincarnation is real, I say. I'm already finding that this one day to get everything right isn't enough. This one life wasn't enough. I tap a headstone, wondering if anyone here has been reincarnated already. Maybe I was one of them. I failed, pass me if so. Me too. I want another shot, but not counting on it. That's your afterlife look like. What's your afterlife look like? Coming up, there's a large tomb that resembles a pale blue teapot, and I know my mother's headstone is a few rows behind it. When I was younger, I'd pretend this teapot tomb was a genie's lamp, wishing for my mother to come back and complete my family never worked. My afterlife is like a home theatre where you can re-watch your entire life from start to finish, and let's say my mother invited me into her theatre. I could watch her life. I just hope someone knows what parts should fade to black, so I'm not scared my entire afterlife. I couldn't sell Lydia on this idea, but she did admit it sounded a little cool. Oh, and there's also this transcript of everything you've ever said since birth, and I shut up because we've reached a corner in the space beside my mother's plot. There's a man digging another grave while a caretaker installs a headstone with my name and dates of birth and death. I'm not even dead yet. My hands shake and I almost drop my sanctuary. And Rufus asks, quickly following on with, oh, I walk toward my grave. I know graves can be dug on an accelerated schedule, but it's only been 11 hours since I even got the alert. I know my final headstone won't be ready for days, but the temporary one isn't what's throwing me off. No one should ever witness someone digging their grave. I'm hopeless too soon after believing Rufus is my life changer. Rufus drops his bike. He walks up to the grave digger and puts a hand on his shoulder. Yo, can we have a few minutes? The bearded grave digger, dressed in filthy plaid shirt, turns to me and then back to my mother's plot. Is this the kid's mum? He gets back to work. Yeah, and you're in the middle of digging his grave, Rufus says as trees rustle and a shovel scoops up earth. Yikes, my condolences all round, but me stopping ain't gonna do anything except slow me down, and I'm knocking this out early so I can leave town and... I don't care. Rufus takes a step back, balling up his fists, and I'm scared he's about to try and take this guy on. So help me, give us 10 minutes. Go dig a grave of someone who isn't standing right here. The other guy, the one who planted my headstone, drags the grave digger away. They both curse about Decker kids these days, but keep their distance. I want to thank the men and Rufus, but I feel myself sinking dizzy. I manage to stay upright and reach my mother's headstone. Estrella Rosa Torres, July 7th, 1969, July 17th, 1999. Beloved wife and mother, forever in our hearts. Can I have a minute with my mum? I don't even turn around because I'm stuck staring at her end day and my birth date. I won't be far, Rufus says. It's possible he doesn't go very far, maybe only a couple of feet, or maybe he doesn't move at all, but I trust him. He'll be there when I turn around. Everything has come a full circle between my mother and me. She died the day I was born, and now I'll be buried next to her. Reunion. When I was 8, I found it weird how she was credited as a beloved mother when the only mothering she did was carry me for 9 months. 10 years later, I know much better, but I couldn't wrap my head around her even feeling like my mum because she never had the chance to play with me, to open her arms as I took my first steps so I could crash into her, to teach me to tie my shoes. None of that or anything else, but then Dad reminded me in a gentle way that she couldn't do any of those things for me because the birth was complicated, very hard. he said, that she made sure I was okay instead of taking care of herself. That's definitely worthy of the beloved cred. I kneel before my mother's headstone. Hey Mum, you excited to meet me? I know you created me, but we're still strangers. When you think about it, I'm sure you've thought about this already. You've had a lot of time on your home theatre where the credits start rolling because you're dead while I cried in some nurse's arms. Maybe that nurse could have helped with the severe bleeding if she hadn't been holding me. I don't know. I'm really sorry you had to die so I could live. I really am. I hope you don't send some border patrol to keep me out when I finally die. But I know you're not like that because of Dad's stories. One of my favourites is the one where you were visiting your mother in hospital a few days before she died, and her roommate with Alzheimer's kept asking you if you wanted to hear her secret. You said yes and yes over and over, even though you knew full well that she used to hide chocolate from her kids when they were younger because she had a sweet tooth. I placed my palm on the headstone's face, and it's the closest I'll come to holding her hand. Mum, am I going to be able to find love up there since I never got a chance to find it down here? She doesn't answer. There's no mysterious warmth taking over me, no warm voice in the wind. But it's okay. I'll know soon enough. Please look after me today, Mum, one last time, because I know I'm not already dead like Rufus thinks we are, and I would like to have my life-changing day. See you later. I get up and turn to my open grave, which is maybe only 3 feet deep and uneven. I step in and sit down and rest my back against the side of the gravedigger hasn't finished yet with yet. I keep my toy sanctuary on my lap, and I must look like a kid playing with blocks in a park. Can I join you? Rufus asks. There's only really room for one. Get your own grave. Rufus steps inside anyway, kicks my feet and squeezes in, resting one leg on one of mine so he'll fit. No grave for me. I'm going to be cremated like my family. Do you still have their ashes? We could scatter them somewhere. The parting with ashes forum on Countdowners is really popular, and the Plutos and I took care of that a month back. Rufus interrupts. I should try and rein in my stories about online strangers. Scattering them outside my own building, I still felt mad empty afterwards. But they're home now. I want the Plutos to scatter my ashes elsewhere. Where are you thinking, Pluto? Althea Park, Rufus says. I love that park, I say. How do you know it? I went there a lot when I was younger. I always with my dad. He would teach me about different clouds, and I would shout out which clouds were in the sky while I was swinging towards them. Why do you like it there so much? I don't know. I end up there a lot. It's where I kissed this girl, Kathy, for the first time. I went there after my family died and after my first cycle marathon. Here we are, 2 boys sitting in a cemetery as it begins drizzling, trading stories in my half-dug grave, as if we're not dying today. These moments of forgetting and relief are enough to push me through the rest of my day. Weird question. Do you believe in fate? I ask. Weird answer. I believe in 2 fates, Rufus says. Really? No, Rufus smiles. I don't even believe in one. You? How else do you explain us meeting, I ask. We both downloaded an app and agreed to hang out, Rufus says. But look at us. My mum and your parents are dead. My father is out of commission. If our parents were around, we wouldn't have found ourselves on Last Friend. The app is designed mainly for adults, not teens. If you can believe in 2 afterlives, you can believe in the universe playing puppet master, can't you? Rufus nods as the rain comes down harder on us. He stands first and offers me a hand. I take it. The poetry you could write about Rufus helping me out of the grave isn't lost on me. I step out and walk over to my mother's headstone, kissing her inscribed name. I leave my toy sanctuary against the stone. I turn in time to catch Rufus snapping a photo of me capturing moments really is his thing. I turn to my headstone one last time. I'll add my end day in no time, September 5th, 2017. My inscription too. It's okay that there's a blank right now. I know what it will say, and I know I'll make sure I've lived as I'm claiming. He lived for everyone. The words will wear away over time, but they'll have been true. Rufus wheels his bike along the wet and muddy path, leaving tyre tracks. I follow him, my insides feeling heavier with every footstep away from my mother and my open grave, knowing I'll be back soon. You sold me on fate, Rufus says. Finish telling me about your afterlife. I do. Part 3. The beginning. It's not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius, Roman Emperor. Wow, that was a full-on chapter. Sitting in your own grave is quite bizarre. I'm glad I won't get the opportunity to do that. Alright, have fun, guys. Click like, put in a comment whether you're enjoying the book or not so I can see who's reading, because I really don't know who's watching. Other than that, have an awesome day. Bye.